Hello Werx fans, and welcome to News Around the Hobby. And sorry I haven't done one of these in a little while, but things came up and I just could not do one for a while. But now I'm back, so we'll get started with some of the news that's happening right now in the hobby world. First up is the company MRC, Model Rectifier Corporation, was sold to another company. The company that did buy them said they are not going to do any changes to them. They're just going to take over their books and take care of it that way. So MRC is one of the importers of Italieri, so that's from what they're saying is not going to change. So hopefully everything will go smooth with that. They're going to keep their same offices and everything, so it does sound like it is going to be a smooth transition. So good luck to them. The Nuremberg Toy Fair just got over with, and a lot of different releases and stuff, which we'll talk about later in the show. But a little update on Revell, which was Revell Germany and consolidated. If you look at some of the other news programs that I've made, you'll learn about the whole trials and tribulations of that, but they're up and running. They had a whole bunch of releases at the Nuremberg Toy Fair. And one of the interesting things is a lot of their releases are cooperation with other companies. So there'll be molds from ICM, Special Hobby, things like that, under their own name. So that'll be interesting to have a lot of the older kits repopped with possibly better decals, depending on what the original kit was and so forth. So we're looking forward to some of those releases there, and best of luck to Revell and getting back on their feet. Excuse me. AK is partnering with a movie company, and we'll kind of talk about that in later in the show. And it's going to be kind of an interesting move for them to actually work with some of the Hollywood movies and some of the independent movies to kind of push and promote the hobby through that. So we'll be looking forward to some of that coming out of AK Interactive. Company called Creasy has recently purchased the publisher Ian Allen out of England, and for you folks who know what that is, you know about these books here. And this particular one is the issue 27, pretty darn thick. They have a whole series of these. I think they're about 15 books now. They just released an updated version of this under the Creasy name, not the Ian Allen, but it's still the same thick, good stuff, written by Yefim Gordon, along with some other people. And very hard to get. You can get them off of Amazon, but you have to pre-order them. So get your orders in early, and just keep your fingers crossed that they keep making all those books. The next one out is supposed to be one update on the MiG-29, which will include the MiG-35, which is very interesting. I'm hoping they'll do a Frogfoot and a MiG-25 book. They did do a 31. But so Creasy looks like they're trying to keep the same format, so that's a good thing there. Let's see here. Wingnut Wings is partnering, well, not really partnering, but they are, the owner of Wingnut Wings is going to be making some movies dealing with World War II. One is Dam Busters, which you might have heard. They're doing a 32nd scale Dam Buster Lancaster. It's supposed to be a very nice kit. They're also doing a bunch of recreations of World War I movies that were straight off of the old films. So that's going to be very interesting there. So hopefully that'll keep going as well. One of the pieces of news that came out just recently, just in the last few days, is some naval researchers have located and discovered the wreck of the CV-12 USS Hornet aircraft carrier. And they have a few pictures of it so far, of what they discovered. They're not disclosing where it is because they want to keep it as a memorial, which is good for them. But I'm hoping that there'll be a little more information on it, a little more video on it. And I'm hoping that the History Channel will do I think it's History or National Geographic. I think it's National Geographic. They do a series called Drain the Oceans, and they've done some on U-boat wrecks and aircraft wrecks and things like that. Very interesting. They did a really nice one on the Titanic. So hopefully they'll do some scanning on the wreck of the Hornet, and they'll be able to do a show on that where they actually drain the ocean and show what it would look like with natural light on it. So that is about it for the news around the world. So up next will be future kit releases. All right, welcome to new kit releases for this week, and what we've got coming this week, or has been announced this week. We're looking at Meng Models is doing a Rolls-Royce armored car. There is rumor that it's already been released. They have sent some samples out to different people to review. I'm guessing that they'll be in the stores and on the internet available here very soon. Not a real big kit, but very interesting. It's a World War I armored car and a little bit of a post-World War I armored car. I believe it goes through 1919. So anyways, very interesting look at that one. Gives you lots of options on paint jobs and weathering. And the next up is Kitty Hawk 132nd scale RF5E, the Tiger Eye, which they've done the single seat F5E, and they've done a double seat F5F. So this one will actually have the Recon nose on it. I've been looking forward for this for a long time. I actually wanted to scratch build one for years and never did, so now I don't have to. So hopefully that'll be hitting the streets pretty soon as well. The kit is actually looking real good. It's going to use a lot of the same parts as the F5E. I just hope that perhaps somebody will come out with a replacement cockpit seat and some details. I'm sure Edward will do some panels. And I'm hoping that Aero Bonus will do some seats, and Quick Boost maybe some seats as well. So get that corrected. Kitty Hawk has also announced they're going to do 132nd scale 2-seat Mirage 2000. Again, a very interesting subject being the 2-seater. And that they've actually sent out some cover pictures of those, the artwork. A lot of potential with that because they did serve in a lot of different markings. Next up, Mini Art is coming out with a Russian flat car, railroad car. This is nice because you see them a lot in photographs of old German stuff being hauled back into Russia, and just all kinds of different equipment on board this particular type of flat car. Should be the Russian gauge, so it should, if you want, it does come with track, but if you want to add track to it, you would have to order the Russian gauge track, not the European gauge track. They are a little different. The next one is Trumpeter is doing a 48 scale Russian Firebar. This is a very interesting aircraft, very sleek looking. It was made for super high speed to compete with the B-58 Hustler. Sort of the same ideas, same concepts on that. And again, you used to be able to get it in a resin. Another company did come out with it in plastic, but this one should be a little bit finer quality. Hopefully it'll look real good. It is more expensive, so I'm hoping for great things from it. So thanks to Trumpeter for doing that. And I will get you a little bit more information on other kit releases on next week's program. So tune back in next week. And now we are up to the new kit review. All right, it's time for the new kit review, and this week I am reviewing a new release of a T-80U Russian tank, and it is actually by a new company called RPG. That's their little logo there. This is the first release that I know of that have done. This kit had a little bit of problems on its initial release. Apparently there were errors in the instructions on different part numbers. My particular kit was delayed for about 5-6 months because they said they were fixing the problem. They said there was also parts that weren't in the original kit. I don't know if that was true or if they were referring to the instructions being wrong. So anyways, let's take a look at this kit. And looks like on the side there's the picture of what the photo etch you get and some of the decals. And there's a side, and there's the different markings that you can do. There's actually 5 different tanks that they're showing there. They do have QR scanner codes here, so if you scan that with your phone and have that app, you can actually go to their website and they will show different announcements. So let's take a look inside. This kit is competing directly with the trumpeter release. All right, so we got the instruction sheet, pretty comprehensive, looking really good, showing the layout of all the sprues. Parts callouts are pretty clear, they're not too cluttered, looks like, so that's real good. Lots of little parts, but doesn't look like anything too small. The track is link by link. They do give you a guide to put your small track sections together, and which is always really nice. Some photo etch there, side armor, and what is nice is they actually did a lot of color on their instructions, which a lot of companies don't do. They just do black and white, which allowed them to show where parts are actually glued together, and then when you go from one step to the other, the arrows are actually a different color. They also show the callouts for super glue on the photo etch parts. And again, real clear, not too cluttered. Getting into the turret, which on this tank is quite complex. So lots of parts on that. And there's the barrel system. Does not come with an aluminum barrel, which kind of surprised me. It does have an aluminum end, which is actually rifled. Very interesting. And here's the different countries. Looks like Russian and arms exposition. The 3-tone black, green, and tan. And then this one, it's interesting. This is actually, I believe, yeah, South Korean Army, which is pretty bright colors. You can kind of see there. And they do show them as hard-lined on the painting, drawing here. But I did research that, and those actually are soft lines, so you can airbrush those. All right, and then one last one here is from the 4th Guards Tank Division. Okay. Let's start taking a look here and see what we've got. Tons and tons of parts. Okay, we're going to start with the first sprue. And what's nice about this company is they use these resealable bags, which is a little more expensive for them to use, but it's much more appreciated than having to cut open the bag and then having parts fall out all the time. You can actually reseal it. So the first one here is actually all the skirts, and it's actually made out of a flexible rubbery plastic, which is kind of neat. So it's actually like the real thing. You will have to use super glue to probably glue those on, but it's all the extra skirts for the side armor protection on the turret and the chassis. So that is the first one. Second one is the upper hull, and this one looks really nice. I mean, there's just no flash, a lot of microscopic parts. That'll be really interesting to work with. Very clean louvers here. Looks pretty good. And that's K. And I'll go through some of these pretty quickly. Some of these I won't need to take out of the packaging. You can kind of see this is the sprockets to the chassis. A lot of little tiny parts in there. Idler wheels. Okay, this one, it has the barrel. The barrel is 2-piece, as you can see, and it's actually 4 pieces because you got the back part there too. Be a little interesting. I'm sure there's plenty of aluminum options out there. So, a lot, again, really tiny pieces. You're just gonna have to be really careful with it. Okay, lower turret ring, and what looks to be, yeah, the headlight covers, which are, I don't know if you can see them there, but they're actually 1 piece, as opposed to the trumpeter that are like 4 pieces and a real pain in the neck to put together. So they use slide molding technology and did that, and it's really fine too. That's the other thing that's really nice. A lot of people scratch build those. On this one, you won't have to. Okay, a lot of parts in this kit, so we'll keep going here. Sponsons, looking pretty good, and again, some little tiny parts here. Yeah, it's going to be quite a build. Okay, drive wheels, and there's 3 of these in one bag. They're all the torsion bars and the drive wheels. Again, they look really sharp. They did put big numbers or letters on their sprues to identify them, but I would still take a marker and outline them, or put a piece of tape on there and mark it to make it easier, since we'll be going through different sprues quite constantly on this one. Exhaust and the fording equipment, and yeah, just really well done for a company's first time release. Okay. Looks like a lot of the fuel cells and ditching log on the side. The ditching log is actually 1 piece, which is kind of nice. So they were able to mold that in one deal. Used slide molding to get some of the detail on the side of the fuel tanks. Some of the upper turret armor, and some really fine little spray piping here. So you're gonna have to be really careful to clip that out. They did have little pieces on the side for knockout pins, which is nice that they didn't actually put the knockout pins on the part itself. So should be just take a little care, and that will look really, really nice. Okay, some of the exhaust and some. Let's see what that is. Yeah, just some of the grill detail there. Lots of little fiddly bits. Okay, that's the hatch cover and some of the smoke generators. And down here is the lights. And some of them are the infrared lights with covers. Real super detailed, super fine. And this is the, looks like a lot of the different different boxes on the side of the turret, tool boxes and different types of stuff there. So many parts, sometimes they're hard to identify. So I'm just trying to show the nitty gritty of this. These are links for the track. They're actually the pin connectors, and they're on that flexible plastic, so they should press on and not give you any troubles. Okay, the hull, the lower hull, lots of detail on the belly. No sink marks, no knockout pins, just a little injection point here, which most armor kits have. A lot of the detail on the side, which is really interesting. Let's see if you can see that. So, all right. And the turret, this one we can pull out of the packaging here. You can see it a little better because that's one of the important parts. It does have texturing on it. It has some weld marks that are really, really fine. Might do a little more texturing with putty on it just to make it a little more accurate on the casting texture, because this is a cast turret. And you can kind of see the welds. Let's see if I can show. Yeah, you can kind of see the welds there. And slide molding and stuff for all these details there on some of the sensors. But looking pretty good. Looking really good. And then all the attachment point holes, so you don't have to do any drilling. It's a trumpeter one, uses a generic turret, and you have to drill out all kinds of holes and follow the instructions, so forth. And here's the photo etch. Comes with some copper strand for the tow ropes, which is nice. That's nice and flexible, easy to work with. And that stuff looks real good. The grill looks really, really nice. And then there's the decals on the other side there for the different markings. And this is the smoke dischargers. They gave you some in brass that are open, which is really kind of cool. And some tiny, tiny springs. And then, of course, the muzzle barrel. See if I can show you the springs and so forth. And there you can see the muzzle barrel in the bag there. So, and finally the track. And lots of it. There'll be lots of different replacement tracks if you want to do Frually or any of the metal tracks. There's the guides there, and then each padded track, and then the guide teeth are all separate. So that's going to be quite a challenge, but no different than any decent model out there on the market. Clear parts, vision ports, things like that. Sensors, real super clear. And they even give you one for the infrared scopes and so forth in clear, which is kind of nice. So you can paint it from the back and make it look a little more realistic looking. So that's the down and dirty of that particular kit. I'm particularly impressed with the welding and the turret pieces and how they did a lot of the slide molding and some of the small parts. Nice that they give you the brass smoke dischargers. So I hope that was in depth enough for you. I had to go pretty quick because there's so many sprues on it. But this company, if they can keep from making mistakes like they did on their initial release of this, they've got a good thing going. And hopefully they'll be doing some other subjects that no one's ever done. So now we've got that out of the way, we are going to go to the kit rewind. Hello MouseWorks fans, and welcome to the model kit rewind. And this is where we look at an old kit from years ago and kind of examine what it looked like, the pluses and negatives of it, and just kind of walk down memory lane. And for this week we're looking at the Tamiya M41 Walker Bulldog, which almost any armor modeler has built. It is one of the ones that has been the cheapest. It's been the most available at hobby centers, craft centers, discount stores, you name it, and it's usually been there. So it's been a staple of Tamiya. And this particular kit, it says on the side here that it's 1975 was when that was released, and this may not even be the first release, I'm sure. So we're looking at 30, almost 44 years ago. So and they're still selling it because it's actually not too bad of a kit. So anyways, we'll take a look at it here. It has a fully detailed plastic track, 3 realistic figures, precision kit. Mostly Japanese on the side. Some pictures of some of their other models that they had out at the time. Some of the bigger scale ones too. So, all right, and this is actually a new edition because the original release of this probably was before barcodes. So, let's take a look, see what we got. Okay, so we got black and white, just paper instructions. This is the Japanese instructions. I don't think it came with American ones, but I'll check here. And it looks like there is the little piece that you used to have to put batteries in. You can kind of see down here that they actually had little areas here for a switch and so forth. This used to be motorized. These were actually in quite a few movies in Japan. Some of the, probably some of the Godzilla movies and some of the other movies. And as the Japanese did use this particular tank, Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force. So looks like they're using polycaps. They were one of the first companies to do that. Pretty simple two-piece barrel. What's really cool is they had pictures of the real tank for reference, and even with a cover, canvas cover. So if you wanted to try that with a Tamiya putty, you could do that. Real simple machine gun, only about 4 pieces, which is so nice compared to some of the stuff today. Granted, the new stuff is very detailed, but it can get really tricky to build a machine gun these days. So, all right. And then there's actually, they actually do show here how to make a gun cover by wrapping tissue around the mantlet there and then putting this little plastic piece on there, which was supposed to be the straps, and then cutting it off and then poking the barrel through it. So that's very interesting. And then there they show somebody who's actually built a model with a cloth or tissue tarp on it. The figures actually were pretty generic, but they were actually not too bad. They actually are pretty decent. Track is vinyl, so you actually take a hot screwdriver and melt the little pins to hold them together, which is the way all of those were. And it does give you Japanese markings and then American markings there. Nice little 3 view there. So let's see what we got in the box here. Okay, we've got the turret, and let's zoom in a little bit on that. See if we can get a really tight view on that. There we go. Okay, and they actually did some weld marks on it, which for 1975, that was cutting edge. I mean, this was just awesome detail. No texture on it, which you can actually add with the putty, since this was a semi-cast turret on that one. And there's the hull, and complete with a little hole in the actual center of where the turret is to actually, if they wanted to motorize the turret to move round and round. And open sponsons, which actually was kind of a bummer, not too hard to cover up, but they didn't really care in those days anyways, because they actually, once the model was built, you didn't see those anyways. They didn't really think anybody cared about that kind of stuff. But the grill detail, real nice. All the latches and stuff is really, really nice for the time, is excellent. Here's the chassis. I actually started building some of the torsion bars here on it. So, and there's the little pieces for the switch and everything. And I mean, they had just, it was just kind of interesting. And they even might have, yeah, check that out. They actually have the little markings for your batteries, positive and negative. And what's interesting is they tell you it's a UM3 or something like that, which is the code for the AA batteries. But anyways, they still left that there on the molding. And the figures, pretty generic, like I said, but the face on them is actually really quite detailed. Even by today's standards, that's really nice. And there's the vinyl little attachments there. And let's see what else we got here. There's the back plate for your batteries. Oh, but yeah, this would have been a very nice kit for the day. I mean, there was all kinds of different upgrades you could have done. Most of them you'd have to do by scratch back in the day. There's the wheels. They actually look pretty good. They weren't separate tires and rims, but that's okay. And the decals look like they're still pretty good shape. Two-piece barrel. Not too bad. And then the vinyl track, which has come all the way full circle. And people hated vinyl track because you couldn't use regular model glue with it, and it was real rubbery and you couldn't get it to lay down. Even people use sewing string to hold it down and tie it to the road wheel so it would actually look like it actually had weight to it. They went to a link and length, and they went to individual link track. And now they're going back to some of this kind of stuff because people hate having to build. I mean, they screamed and cried for link and length, and they got it. And now it's very hard to build that way. So a lot of people want this kind of stuff again. Some companies have actually, like Dragon, have made this in actually a flexible styrene, so you can actually use model glue on it. And it doesn't react very well to super glue on the actual Dragon stuff. It's kind of interesting. But this, again, you melted these little pieces down here to hook it back together. So, not badly detailed track. It's just that being rubber, you don't get that little straight, sharp pieces where each length is. So, anyways, and then at the bottom is the American instructions here. They give you a history of the tank and its adversaries and so forth. And, yeah, so they're showing the actual Japanese version there right here, and they're showing the actual prototype photograph. So anyways, that's a blast from the past. Like I said, some stuff comes full circle sometimes. Then on the inside they actually have some information on ordering parts, and you can actually contact Tamiya and get this one was actually Tamiya Europe in Germany, so very interesting. So that is our kit rewind. I hope you enjoyed that. And up next is new tool review. Okay, for this week's new tool review, I'm actually going to review a new line of paints. And these paints have actually been out for a while in a different form. What they are is they're the AK Interactive Real Colors. And I did, these particular ones are the air colors for aircraft. They did ones in the clear lidded ones, which were all the armor colors. And did test these out and tested these out. You can check my other videos for full details on that. But I did buy on these aircraft ones. They are very correct in colors. They did a lot of research to get the right colors. And I knew I wanted so many different ones because I build so many different types of aircraft that I went ahead and bought their hard wooden case, and which had the case plus all 133 colors in it. Got it straight from Spain, came really quick. I was really surprised. Only a few partially leaked, nothing leaked real badly. I was kind of worried about that, especially when it was being transported in the middle of winter. But yeah, they came pretty quick, looked real good. Did do some testing on them, and there's a few things to note. The armor colors, which are in the clear, they touted as acrylic lacquers, and that you could use their thinner, and which is this stuff here, this Real Colors thinner, high compatibility thinner that works with different paints and so forth. And they said you could also use other people's brands. You could use even down to water. So did test on that. That is true. Actually, water worked pretty good on these. Windex worked good. Some of the other acrylic thinners like denatured alcohol worked okay. Not great, but worked okay. And of course their thinner worked pretty good. So when I ordered these, I assumed they were the same formula. They did not say anything different from AK. Went ahead and did exactly what I did with the other paints and put some water in there. Actually, I used Windex first, and to my surprise, the paint actually balled up into, let me see if I can find the right one here. Okay, that's the Windex. Okay, so give you an idea what the Windex did. If you can see it there, it just instantaneously, the minute the Windex touched the paint, it balled up into like a little piece of gum. I mean, it just completely homogenized just into that. So I was kind of like, well, I don't understand. And I had just finished spraying this color, which was the armor color, and used Windex, and there it is, nice and smooth. Shot it, ran, worked smooth, didn't have a problem with that. So I decided to go with just water, and guess what? It did the same thing. You can even see the big buildup of the little gummy thing there. It's actually still kind of flexible there. So I was really kind of aggravated, so I thought, well, maybe it's just the water. So I actually used some stuff called VMS from England, and it's actually really still gooey, and this has been 2 weeks now. It balled up just the same, and just completely, I mean, it's hard to explain. It was a chemical reaction that was very strange. So I thought, well, maybe enamel would work, since that's more on the line of the lacquer thinners and so forth. And its colors actually separated instantaneously. They would not mix together. So I decided to try to use a couple other thinners. I actually used lacquer thinner, and super smooth, ultra smooth. Shot it, and it worked really, really well. I mean, it worked so well. It looks like this, super smooth. And I used my Mr. Thinner, which is the Mr. Leveling color from Gunzi, and it was really smooth as well. So anyways, base point is these colors work incredibly awesome. I sprayed a Spitfire with them. They level out while using the leveling thinner from Gunzi. Worked awesome. They cover incredibly, but they are completely different chemistry than the armor colors. So I don't know exactly what happened or what's going on. I wish AK would let me know, or if anybody would let me know what they were talking about. I do not see any direct things that say AK Air can be thinned with water. But the AK Armored, they do say that. So anyways, they are different formulas, obviously. I'm going to switch to using either their thinner or the Gunzi thinner with all of them, which is fine. That way I have a thinner that'll work, and it's nice that lacquer thinner, that off-the-shelf works. That way I don't have to buy their stuff all the time, and if I can't find it, get into trouble, not be able to spray. So, but yeah, I wish they would publish that and just tell everybody that these have to be lacquer or their thinner, or lacquer-based thinner. So they do say cellulose thinner, which is a lacquer thinner they want you to use with some of these colors, but again, they just don't make a clarification between the two types, and they're totally different. So anyways, I do like them. I love the fact that the color is really, really correct. They even came out with a big book on it. They do give you a color chart, which is actually pretty close to the actual colors. And I'll be shooting these all the time, but I'll be using the lacquer thinner, which you do have to use good ventilation with. So anyways, that is the review of the new tools, and I will see you guys all next time. Keep building.